All right. Well, let's catch up with INES, I guess, and one of these should be one of Adage's bad endings. I think where he died and INES was keeping tabs on Cyrus. I'm like, are we gonna see baby INES in short story number 2? Because that'll be amazing. And then this, I have no idea. But let's begin. We'll find out together. It is! Haha! She was a doctor! I loved that. That was so cool.
Adage had died a few months earlier. A ceremony was underway in the Hound's building.
They had a ceremony for Adage in the Hound's building? Interesting. This was unexpected.
Everyone was inside, save for those on guard. Everyone had a small shot glass with whiskey in their hands.
To the dead.
Sachs, who stood in the center of the room, raised his glass and downed it.
This is unexpected.
We all did the same. To the dead, we said and drank. The liquor burned down our throat. We did this once a year to honor the fallen members of the Hounds.
Okay, so it wasn't for Adage specifically, because I'm like, but why? I mean, I know he was like one of 2 doctors down here, but huh? Okay, it's for all the Hounds. Good to know.
Hounds worked in packs. We had no value as individuals. Therefore, they were not honored individually.
Ouch.
Officially, at least. Everyone I looked at wore a grim expression. They all thought back on the deceased to whom they had been especially close. And I'm sorry that it's so late.
Serena's.
I opened the door to the clinic and found Cyrus there.
What is it, Serena's?
Nothing important. I looked around. Good. There don't seem to be any patients. It really wasn't important, so I would have returned home if others had needed her. Can I talk to you?
Yes, of course.
Cyrus smiled at me, nodded, and closed the door.
Sit down. I will pour you something to drink.
Oh, there's no need to.
There is. You're my guest.
I see. Adage, the previous resident, would have left me standing.
Yeah, well, I'm not Adage, am I? And he's grateful for the difference. I bet.
Grateful for the difference, I sat on a chair. Were you studying medicine? There was a smattering of written notes and books on the table. The books had been handwritten by Adage. The handwriting of the notes was Cyrus's. One hand was beautiful and regular, but lacking individuality. One hand was practiced and swift. I found it amusing how small things like that reflected the author. If only he'd done something during his lifetime.
Sorry, I will clean the table.
She noticed that I was eyeing her notes and rushed to clean it up. I won't stay long. Leave them like this, I don't mind.
It's all right. I was hoping to finish up anyway. Adage often said to be wary of the strain on one's nerves.
And yet he worked into the wee hours. He certainly judged himself by different standards sometimes. I already thought of him in the past tense. Well, he was gone. But I still hope to find him somewhere deep down.
Aw, INES.
Odd, since we hadn't even been very close.
What did you need?
Said Cyrus as she poured water into a glass. She had another glass for herself and sat down facing me. This is for you. I pulled a small bottle from my bag, small enough to fit in the palm of a child's hands.
Medicine?
No, alcohol.
Alcohol,
She said, pondering the word. Today is a special day in the Hounds. We were honoring those of us who have died. He wasn't one of us officially, But in the end, he died assisting the doctor assigned to the hounds. I want to drink to his memory.
Serena's. Did Adage drink?
I think he did drink a little.
I see.
Cyrus thought about this and laughed softly. I asked her why she was laughing, and she shook her head. Apparently she hadn't known, despite living with him.
I think we need to put it behind us. I want to put it behind myself, anyway. But there are too many memories here. I can see Adage everywhere. Just looking around makes me remember him. Grieving for him won't make him come back, I know.
Cyrus.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't grumble.
It's all right. You're strong. I feel honored to hear you grumble at all.
Serena's. It's difficult for now, but I will get over it one day. And I'll be a doctor that Adage can be proud of.
A doctor, huh? That reminded me that the hounds didn't have a doctor. We've asked the Heights so often. I suppose nobody wants to work in the depths. For the time being, the lack of large disturbances meant that it was manageable. But that might change.
Serena's?
I would have liked to hire her, but I have no idea what Sachs would think of that, or what he might do. I'd asked Adage to look after her. Sending her to a safe place like the clinic had been the best course of action. Nothing. I drank the water in my glass and got up. It's hound's custom to say, "To the dead," and drink the spirit. It's strong in both taste and alcohol volume. You don't have to drink it if you don't want to.
All right.
That's all. Goodbye. I went back to the door. When I opened it, she put a hand on my shoulder.
Thank you for coming here for Adage.
For Adage. That was only part of the reason, I thought. I'm glad to see you doing well. Good night, I said and closed the door. Outside the clinic it was dark and quiet. I took a deep breath, surprised by how different it was here compared to the urban areas of the Sanctuary District. It won't remain like this. The peace out here had a reason. It was far from the main Sanctuary District, and the residents didn't know much about the region. If they knew what it looked like here, no doubt the criminals would come to pillage the fields. It's up to me to stop them from coming. I put a hand on my sword to make sure it was there. Vice Commander of the Hounds. I hadn't wanted this position, but I had a responsibility. I swore then that I was going to protect Cyrus. To the dead. To Adage.
Aw, INES. Such a noble and caring guy. And very thoughtful, too. Maybe things would develop between him and Cyrus in that ending, too. Okay. Baby INES? Yes! Baby INES! Oh, this is gonna be delightful.
When I was small, I often helped out at home. It wasn't because I particularly enjoyed it, but rather because it was just normal in my family to do so. I was the eldest son, after all. I had to look after my brothers and sisters. And I had other duties as well. Having been born into a family of dairy farmers, looking after cattle was also part of my duties. I was probably fairly busy for a child my age. We lived in a corner of the dairy zone.
There's a dairy zone? Amazing.
It was quite far away from the temple, and so going into the city was always exciting for me when I was young. There were so many people and so many winding roads. The buildings looked like they had come from a picture book. My father had to pull me along or I would have stood hypnotized by the unfamiliar scenery.
That's all we need.
My father put the paper my mother had given him into the breast pocket of his vest and turned to address me.
Is there anything you want?
Anything I want? I thought on it and looked around. I don't know. There were things I wanted, but I couldn't express them. There's so much I want. The toys the children in the neighborhood had. The stationery my classmate had recommended to me. There were so many things, but more than anything. That would bother them. I'd always known that we were poor. My parents had never told me, but I noticed it when I started going to school. It was the way the others behaved and the quality of our own home. Even to me, being quite young, the difference was obvious. A stuffed toy.
A stuffed toy? You?
My father's eyes widened with surprise and he laughed. Yeah, it's her birthday soon.
Oh, I see how it is.
I didn't want a stuffed toy, but my little sister's birthday was close and I had nothing to give her. I want to make her happy. Please?
All right.
So selfless. Best big brother.
I went to a toy store with my father. All the stuffed toys were expensive. All we could afford was a small one, no more than the size of my hand. Yet I knew my little sister was going to love it.
I want the horse carriage.
Someone was yelling behind us as we waited for the stuffed toy to be wrapped up. I turned around and saw a boy about my age. He was pulling on his mother's arm, egging her to buy it for him. The mother smiled and relented immediately. She called an employee. She never even asked for the price. I see. I could tell by looking that it was expensive. I'd always wondered who could afford to buy something like that. So they're the sort of people. The clothes of both the mother and the child were expensive as well. I imagined that the nobles were surely somewhat like them. There's no point being jealous. I'm not jealous. I told myself and took our package from the employee. I had my parents, my siblings, and the animals. I was happy. I was fine.
Ines, what do you want to be when you grow up?
We were on the way home. My father was asking this for no discernible reason. What,
Oh. Sorry. What kind of job would you like to be doing?
I can't be like you,
You can.
he said and laughed.
You can also be something else. I want you to live the life you want, Inez.
I've never thought about that until now. I'd always assumed I would be a dairy farmer like my father. I couldn't think of a good answer. It was a tough question. I don't have anything in mind. I want to do something good for you and everyone else.
I see. I look forward to that. I think you're going to be a great adult, Inez.
Thanks, Dad.
At the time, I didn't really understand what a great adult meant. I understood that he expected something of me, and that made me happy. I want to help them so they can have a good life. That was the first time that I thought about what I wanted to do in my future.
A memorable day, to be sure. Aw, cute. I was hoping we'd see the cows. Or at least the dairy zone. Like, what does the dairy zone look like? I'll never know. I'll have to imagine it. Just cows wandering here, there, and everywhere. Okay, and then short story 3 should be before he meets Cyrus. Maybe when Thea's still alive? No? No. Oh, you knew Sachs as a police officer before you went down? Get out of town.
I'd known Sachs as a police officer already. Not that he'd been a friend. We'd only ever spoken a few times and only about work.
It's a small world after all.
I became a rank 1 officer at the age of 16. I'd barely finished training. My scores on the written examination weren't good, but I passed on the basis of my physical examination and character evaluation. I became a rank 2 officer when I was 20. Different officers take the exam at different times, but most need 4 years to become a rank 2 officer, and another 8 for rank 3. Only rarely does one rise up the ranks faster. Those that do are the talk of the force. Sachs was one of them.
Interesting. So he was well on his way to stardom, I guess, before... No wonder he killed his partner. You ruined my life! That... I'm like trying to picture like a teenage Saxon, and it's a weird mental image to conjure up. Uh-huh.
I'm Saxon Brandenburg. Nice to meet you. I met him when I was 21.
Okay, so he would have been 20?
It was the day Sachs became a rank 1 officer. We were only a year apart. Apparently, he had joined the force after studying at university. A university degree isn't necessary to join the force. If anything, there were many like me who joined because their education was too poor for other avenues. I remember thinking about how odd his history had been. 2 years passed. Sachs became a rank 2 officer. I had been an officer for 7 years. Sachs had been one for 2. The amount of experience we had differed, but we had the same rank.
2 years?
We remembered each other well enough to greet the other. And later... Heine. I became more aware of him 3 years later in the Sanctuary District. My partner had died. Sachs's had been corrupt. We were both assigned to the Hounds around the same time. I'm surprised. You were betrayed too. Sachs grinned at me. He called me Heine at the time, and I called him Brandenburg. We only started using each other's first names later. No, I lost my partner in an accident. I see. It won't be easy down here. I wonder how this will go. I sighed and looked at the Hound's facility. The flag in the wind, the Hound's emblem. Our duty, protecting criminals from the people of the depths. I wasn't supposed to be like this, I thought, and felt the weight of responsibility land upon me. Who knows? I doubt we'll be able to go back either way. That would be a problem. I have to go back. Offspring? Better to not have kids that'll just get sent to the depths. I was lucky while being unlucky, I think. Oh, I get it.
It's like, huh? Kids? What?
I finally understood what Sachs meant and cleared my throat. I didn't leave children behind. I'm not even married in the first place. I'm surprised. You always look like you want to go back to your girl. I do. I don't know. Sachs laughed and walked towards the facility. I think we will all die here, but I won't make it easy. Let's strap in and survive here. Both of us. Yeah. I knew there weren't many things that Sachs and I shared in terms of outlook and upbringing. We'd barely known the other before running into each other in the depths. He's right. We have to survive. Never to give up hope. Always optimistic. To get back what we had lost. I followed Sachs into the building.
Does that mean Sachs wanted to go back too? I never got the impression from him, but maybe he was too broken by the time I finally met him. Maybe he had reasons to go back. Maybe I'll find out when I do Sachs' short story, who knows. But that was INES's. Nothing too tear-jerky, just more of INES being as awesomely noble as he always is, so yeah. I enjoyed that very much and got some interesting backstory, to be sure. But that is it for now, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Next time we'll be catching up with our Saint Bro. And... Baby Uni? Maybe? Could be cute. We'll find out. Okay, until then, guys, I will see you later.